With Baltimore Ravens starting quarterback Lamar Jackson set to miss his fourth consecutive game with an injury, there are a lot of people out there talking about how this has everything to do with Lamar Jackson being unhappy with his contract situation. This has everything to do with Lamar Jackson not wanting to be out there on the field and risk an injury potentially. Like, I've heard it all. We've heard it all year, right? Instead of talking about what the potential of this Baltimore Ravens team is, instead of talking about and focusing on the reality of how better this team is with Lamar Jackson, how better this team has been overall compared to last year, what is the one thing that the sports media wants to focus on? They want to focus on the thing that's going to get them the most clicks. They want to focus on the thing that is going to get people riled up and stirred up. They have created a false narrative around this whole Lamar Jackson contract situation. And I'm not saying this is just one specific network, one specific person. You hear it a lot on ESPN. You hear it a lot on FS1, everywhere on these mainstream sports networks. You hear this idea that because Lamar Jackson is representing himself, that because Lamar Jackson right now does not have a contract, there is some sort of not miscommunication, but him and the Baltimore Ravens just don't see eye to eye. That has been the case. That has been the narrative that has been spun. The narrative that has been spun is that Lamar doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what's best for Lamar Jackson. And when that situation changed, right? Because that was what we heard all year. What we heard all year is Lamar doesn't have an agent. Lamar is representing himself, and it's a detriment to himself and his negotiations. And he's the one in the wrong, and he should not play until he has a contract. But now what are we hearing? Suddenly, he gets injured, and everyone, including Damian Woody and everyone on ESPN, they're laughing like, see, I told you guys this would happen. I told you guys Lamar Jackson, he's smart. He knows he's not playing right now because the Ravens have already clinched the playoffs, and there's no reason to have him out there. So why would he risk injury? And he's not going to play until he gets a contract. People think they're so smart, don't they? Because no matter what, when they go on and they say all these things, they're right. They don't have to answer to anyone. They don't have to accept the fact that they are wrong. And that's what this whole Lamar Jackson thing all year has been. It has been a media narrative. Because all these talking heads have nothing better to talk about. You don't want to talk about the actual football because you have tricked people into thinking that the actual play on the field does not matter. Instead, you have convinced people that these little things outside of the field matter way more than they do when we're talking about the sport of football. You're talking about things like this, Tom Brady's love life, Tom Brady's marriage, because instead of talking about, this is an actual point people tried to make, that Tom Brady, the reason he's been bad so far this year is because of the things going on in his love life and in his love life. And they tried to make such a big deal about this, instead of focusing on the fact that this offense and this offensive line hasn't been playing that well all year. Instead of talking about there's a lot of lack of chemistry with his receivers right now for whatever reason. Instead of focusing on any of that, they do the same thing with him. Lamar Jackson is not playing because the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson don't think he's ready to play. That is it, guys. Lamar Jackson's one of those players, and you don't believe me, that's fine. Again, I'm a talking head. Why would you, right? But go back and really listen to Lamar Jackson in his press conferences, in his interviews, which I do because I am a diehard Baltimore Ravens fan. I paid a lot of attention to Lamar Jackson. Again, don't take my word for it if you don't want to. But this is a guy who puts a lot of faith in his coach, John Harbaugh, who people want to talk about how there's a rift between Lamar Jackson. That's another part of this narrative, right? There's a rift between Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh, which it couldn't be farther from the truth. The Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh are probably two of the closest quarterback head coach combinations in the NFL. The way Lamar Jackson talks about John Harbaugh with reverence and vice versa, John Harbaugh talking about Lamar Jackson. Like literally, they just released footage from this past week of Lamar Jackson, John Harbaugh hugging and having a great moment, which has been happening all year, all throughout their careers, ever since the Ravens and John Harbaugh specifically took a chance on Lamar Jackson and rubber stamped that and said, "This is my guy for the future." And the ESPN, FS1, they know better than the reality that we are presented with week in, week out. All they talk about is like that's the thing. They connect two dots and they immediately think they've solved the puzzle, and they ignore the 150 other dots in the entire on the entire page. That's what they're doing. Because it's way more interesting to say that Lamar Jackson doesn't get along with his coach. It's way more interesting to say that Lamar Jackson doesn't want to sign with Baltimore, that he's going to Miami, he's going to Pittsburgh, he's going to wherever the hell, right? It's way more interesting to say that. And look, there's a chance that Lamar Jackson doesn't end up being a Baltimore Raven in about 2 or 3 years. A good chance. You know why? Because when you are one of the best players in the game, and arguably the most skilled player that the NFL has ever seen, it would behoove you to see what is out there. And I'm telling you, if he ever actually does become a free agent, Lamar Jackson is going to get paid. It might not be with Baltimore, might not be with someone else. I can rest assured Baltimore's going to franchise tag him. He's not going anywhere this offseason. But I'm just sick of the lies. I'm just sick of the lies that this narrative has spun. Because now in everyone's head, all they're thinking about when they think about Lamar Jackson is, oh, he's holding out. He's not playing, because it could have nothing to do with the fact that they're playing the Steelers, who are not a good football team. And Lamar Jackson may want to be 100% for a way more important matchup on week 18, or a way more important matchup since they've already clinched the playoffs in the wild card round. No. It couldn't have anything to do with that. It couldn't have anything to do with the fact that he might be behind a little bit on his timeline, or the injury is a little more severe than we thought. No. It only has to do with the fact that Lamar hasn't signed a contract. That's what it always comes back to, right? I'm tired. I'm tired. Everyone should be tired, because all this is a narrative that has been spun by people who don't have anything else to talk about. Notice that. That's the entire NFL offseason, by the way. Whenever you watch NFL Live or whatever, it has nothing to do with moves that are made in the offseason. It's all just, hey, look at this narrative we're going to spin. That's all it is. And it's interesting. At this point, it's dull, and it's so easy to see through. It is so easy to see through. And I'm sick of it. Again, it's all to do about nothing. I need to get this off my chest. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below, though. Hit that like button as well. Subscribe and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever one of our daily videos is released.